Hello everyone, welcome back to another very interesting mock interview that we are going to have with Himanshu. So Himanshu is working in one of the company as a lead engineer. So I will leave it to the Himanshu to introduce himself. But before we get started, just wanted to say that this is going to be a very detailed, very thorough, where a lot of questions in terms of the JavaScript, drilling into the JavaScript, everything that we are going to cover. So please keep watching till the end, and this is going to be a great experience for everyone who is watching. Thanks a lot for actually chipping in and basically sharing your knowledge and being agreeing to giving a mock interview. So I think this is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you very much, Chirag sir. Actually, I'm a subscriber of you. I respect you a lot. So, yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. So a small introduction of mine. So, I was working as a lead engineer in Naukri.com, in its business unit admissionbox.com. So, it's a Glassdoor competitor in India, which has beaten Glassdoor in India. So, when I joined it, I was a fresher in 2019. I have been working there for almost 5 years. When I left, I left it last week only, last week only. So I was working as a lead engineer front end there. So right now I am about to join another product based company in fintech sector very soon.
Awesome. Good to hear
Yeah,
and congratulations for that. So before
yeah.
even
Thank
we
you.
jump into that, just wanted to know how much total experience do you hold, Himanshu?
Yeah, I have 5 years of experience
Perfect.
in
So that will
working with
help me to
companies.
basically dig deeper into the problem statement and whatnot before we get into. So
Sure,
are
sure.
you ready?
Yes, yes. I'm very excited.
Perfect. So let's do one thing. Share your screen. I have shared a link basically with you where we'll be doing the live coding kind of a thing. So that will be kind of collab. So let's open that and your problem statement will be available over there. So generally how things works, like you have mostly seen that how accounting people does, right? So it's just that people say that, hey, I got 1 lakh rupees, I got 10,000 rupees, I got say suppose another 1 lakh rupees. People keep on talking about, and there is someone who's sitting as an accountant, he keep on adding those things, right? So consider example,
Okay.
if you have to implement something similar using Java and where the syntax looks like something like this. So if you see on the left hand side, what we are expecting over here. So there is an input which says that, hey, so there is a function that need to be created which is called compute amount. So that's a function. So if I have to say, this is a function that need to be created which exposes some of the method like lakhs, crores, thousand, and whatnot. Now you can keep on calling these functions, and once you say that, hey, these are the all the functions that I have, and I want it to the final value, like, hey, tell me what are the values that I have told you, give me the summation of everything, so that it should be able to provide you the final value, final outcome. So
Okay.
in this case, as you
Okay.
see, you execute the function, what you get is something, hey, there is 15 lakh, then you add 5 cr on top of it, then 2 cr on top of it, then 20 lakh, then 45,000, then 7 cr, and then finally say that, hey, tell me the value, what is the total amount that I have told till now. So it's a kind of a Munsi that you are building for in
Hmm.
JavaScript.
Got it. So basically, since we are changing everything, so we will make it. We will make a function which will return its instance only, and then all these callbacks can be called on those instance. So basically, if I were to tell you like simply, is my screen visible?
Yeah.
We can return the reference to this internal uh, list of the function, and it will have uh, itself like uh, we can maintain a boolean of, let's say, total amount. We can assign it to 0, and we will receive an argument of amount to be added. Then we can just keep on adding that amount to the total, and whenever user wants to see the total, I can see that we have a value function that will return.
So Himanshu, you can do one thing, maybe reduce the
Yeah,
left panel and increase the
okay.
font so that it becomes more visible. Yeah.
I am thinking of this kind of approach where this every function that will be executed will return its instance only.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ideally, it should work. I am not sure because I haven't written a particular example of this. So maybe we will debug it a bit. Uh, we will experiment with it and see how it works.
Mhm.
We can try to run this kind of.
Before executing, let's try to
Yeah.
do some of the dry run around this, right? So
Yeah.
we know this is the problem statement on the left hand side, which I can actually
Mhm.
make it simple by saying that, hey, so you have a compute amount function, right? When you
Mhm.
execute it, what do you get?
So I will right now, when I execute, I will basically get the amount that we, okay. So I have missed something here. Like I even have to multiply here in lakhs. But coming back to your question, you will get a number basically
When you
as an
execute the
output.
compute amount for the first time, that function when
Yeah.
we execute for the first time, what
Yeah.
are we expecting?
So you are basically expecting an recallable function or an object
Hmm.
which will have its properties, which will have its attributes like lakhs, crores, then thousands, which I can call, even I can call value on it.
Hmm.
So it will be like a chaining of functions. Like we can link output of one function to another function.
Great. So we know that in compute, when you execute, you get something as an object which can be again called. Like you have some
Right, right,
method which can be called on top of it, which is great.
right,
So then
right.
there are two critical things which you try to implement, which I can see. One is the lag function and one is the value function.
Hmm.
I think there will be more function that you will be trying to create like crore and thousand whatnot, right? So this is one of the
Hmm.
sample where
Right.
you are actually adding something on the existing thing. Okay, so we can try executing it and let's see what is the outcome that you get.
I think we need to create one instance to give reference to the,
Okay. Are you
and
going
we need,
to create an instance like this? How?
yes, yes.
Okay.
I am thinking like we have to create an instance. That's why, so that this particular this gets initialized
Mm-hmm.
with its inner value, and even we need to, one second. We will make it an internal property. This dot total amount, and we will keep on into multiples of 1 lakh. Mm, yeah, I think we can try dry run. We can try a dry run with this.
Okay. I think you have to change it line number 16 as well. I think that's what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out.
No worries. So yeah, if you wanted to execute this, you can give a shot. Let's see. You can check your like print something
Okay.
so that you get to know what is happening, right?
I think some infinite loops kind of problem is happening. Let me debug it.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I think it will keep on calling itself that it will become a infinite loop. That's why it's
Okay. What shall we do now?
what can we do now? Okay, let me think. So we can make a factory function kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically we can create a factory function where it will return its instance only. Otherwise, we basically it will create its new instance. Otherwise, return its old instance only. it will not go into infinite loop. Or even if I were to think about a different approach, we can return a function. We can make an inner function
Mhm.
of let's say total amount, or and return its instance only.
Okay.
We can go with either of these two approaches.
I think the current solution is in the right direction. It's just that few things that you have to take care of, right? So what can we do?
One second, let me think it through first. I think this part is right. This part is right. It's just the returning. We have to create an instance of compute amount. I Either we can do it in this way, like we can call new compute amount and then try this approach. Will this work? Like, is this acceptable? Or like, do we have to change the approach only?
You have to adhere to the syntax which is provided.
Okay, okay, okay. No problem.
So I get it what you're trying to do. Just
Yeah,
small tweaks that has to you have to do in order to ensure that this syntax is actually supported.
no problem. We can make it happen.
So the way you are actually
Whenever,
thinking in terms of the factory pattern, maybe the combo of that and the approach that you have, you can mix and match. Try
yeah,
something out.
yeah, we can do that, but it will still go into infinite loop even if I have to create an instance. I can make a use of.
Like I'm happy to give hints in case you are interested.
Yeah, sure. Let's get it.
Okay. So right now I see you're almost there. The only problem that
Mm-hmm,
you're having with the syntactical thing is just that what you're returning is you're returning this, which is a
mm-hmm,
like instance, right?
right,
And in order to have that, you need to like create a new object, new instance out of that
right,
in
right,
order to
right,
make it work. As per the
right.
problem statement that we have, does it really matter? Is it an instance or what? What do you want it to return ultimately? What is expected from the compute amount from the problem statement that you have? What is expected?
So basically, compute amount will return a function
There are few
that
functions
is
which are
called.
expected you to return, right?
Right,
Is
right.
it necessary that those functions are part of that particular
No,
instance?
no, definitely not.
Not. So can
That's
you
what I said. Like,
abstract them
yeah,
with the this that you have? Give a short
yeah, we
program.
can. So basically, that's why I said like we can make another function to compute it. Like we can move this logic to we can make a function like calculator, and it will have the part of these. All the properties will be part of it only.
Mhm.
So basically, we can create a new instance of and return it.
Okay.
Most probably, this should work. Shall we give it a try run?
Yeah, please go ahead. So I think you have to print. So the
Yeah.
final outcome is something that you have expected to print.
Okay. I do not have to return it. I just have to print it.
Yeah. So like both of these, it can be done, but in console you will only be see once you have console.log, right?
Right. Okay, then I think I can just make these functions. This approach is right, right? Can
Yeah,
I go ahead?
definitely.
I'm not focusing on the naming part right now. Like I am going ahead with the calculator part only, but we could have make it more readable.
No worries on that. It's completely works.
Okay. These are lakhs, these are crores. Then we can return this one. Then there's thousand. Let's just copy this. Drag to dry run here.
I think you have to manually write. I will help you to copy that. So you may not be able to do that.
I will
Okay.
copy it.
I'm just overriding it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have it now.
Max crore, max thousand crore value. Okay. Give it a dry run.
So you have a syntactical error.
Okay. Understood.
Is okay.
No, that's no, what's the error? Money amount. Okay. I think it's a spelling error.
Okay, sounds good. I think outcome is something which is okay. I think that's the
Okay.
one which you had is actually I think the correct one. The approach is
Okay.
fine. Awesome.
Okay.
So there are few things which I want to touch upon. The
Mm-hmm.
way you have written is like you have written a function which is external function and you are creating a factory function. From that you are creating a new
Right.
like you have a constructor function from that you created an instance and then you are able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to say
Mm-hmm.
that hey, you are not allowed to create any function outside.
Okay.
So if you have to further simplify,
Okay.
so is there any
Then if I think I can use closures in that case.
okay?
Like I can create an inner function, or I can create its instance in itself and return it.
Sure, got it. I think I'm good in this problem. Let's solve one more problem on top of it. So I will just clean up
Okay.
the code that you have written, or we can
Okay.
comment it down also. Like anything works. So I just comment it down so that you can write at the bottom. Okay. So on the left hand side, let me make this. What you have is this function. So maybe I can actually write this function over here itself so that it becomes easy.
Yeah, that would be better, right?
Yeah. So what you have to basically tell what will be the outcome of this.
Okay. Let me just make it fast. So we have one object which has hello world, and it is returning this dot name hello world. Then we have a property name. Okay. Then we have another object which also has a property hello world which points to itself. Okay.
So
Then
when
we
we
have
run this obj2 dot hello world, what is the outcome that we are expecting?
okay. So I think since object is available, it should bind it to. I think it should print
It should print.
by. I think.
Okay, let's give a shot. Let's execute and let's see. You may have to do console.log at the last. Yeah. Awesome.
Hello world by. Yeah.
So what if we have to say that you have to print hello instead of bye? What changes we will be doing?
If I had to print hello instead of by, okay. So basically, I would have done this. uh, and it would have printed hello here.
Oh, you can't change the implementation of objects. Like you can only
Okay,
change the consumption, not the implementation.
I can only change the consumption. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Then I would have called hello world by binding it to object property.
Mm-hmm.
I do not need to pass any argument here, so I will just call it right.
Will this work?
No, no, sorry, syntactical errors.
Okay. Give a
I
shot.
will bind it to object. Yeah, this should work. Yeah.
Can you help me to understand like why it was not, why it was giving bye initially and why it is giving hello now?
So basically, since object.hello world is a function which is pointing to this, so
Mm-hmm.
when I will execute it on object2, it will point to the this of itself only. So it will point to object2 only. So whenever we try to get this dot name, so it will point to object2 dot name and it will return by. But when I'm calling it with respect to object, so
Mm-hmm.
here the this will be replaced by this will be replaced by the obj object, and hence it will point to the whenever it will try to access this dot name, then it's this will point to the object and its property will point to the name key which has its value hello instead of by. So here if I just call it without it, yeah, if I will just call it without, then it will point to object two only. But here I am calling it with changing its instance of this with object only. I am binding it to this property. This property to object obj object.
Sounds fair. Let's do one more interesting problem statement. So generally, in JavaScript, we say that all the frameworks are built on top of the JavaScript, right? But on the framework
Right.
side, we get a lot of interesting thing out of box. Like example, two-way binding. So if you see Angular,
Mm-hmm.
or if you talk about Vue.js, so we get two-way
Mm-hmm.
binding. Like if you have an input,
Right.
you make any changes in the input, the model get modified, and if you change anything in the model, your input get modified, right? So it's a two-way. So it's
Right.
a view to model and model to view. That is what we have seen. Now, can we
Right.
implement something similar to that? So when I say can we implement two-way binding of our own? So take this example. This is going to look something similar to this. I will help you to
Uh,
understand. So this is how your input basically, there is a input, there is a state associated with that, and you have a model. So what
mm-hmm.
you have to do, you have to
Okay.
create your own model. So you have a state. If you try to do input dot value from the DOM element, it should give you high because that is associated with the model, right? So if you see in this particular problem statement, your state and your input are binded.
Mm-hmm.
So your view
Okay.
layer and the model layer is binded. So anything which is in the
Okay.
input will be visible on the model. Anything which is visible, like available on the model, that will be available in your input. That is what it is going to work. That's how your two-way binding works. So hence, if you notice, you have an input and you have a state. Your state is right now is an object, and your input does not have anything. But we wrote a model which actually combined the view layer and your, you can say, the state in this particular case. What is happening, you can actually access input dot value, which is going to give you the thing which was present in the state. That's how your Angular or Vue.js basically works, right? Similarly,
Mm-hmm.
if you notice, if you change anything in the state, your input will automatically change. On top of it, if you change anything in the input, your state will also change, like, so vice versa will also work. So if you notice at the last state dot value, if you can scroll to the bottom probably, so your state dot value is also going to change
Mm-hmm.
if there is a change in the input.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will try to
So
implement your model, like how your model is going to look like, such that both of these things are possible.
So, in my opinion, like if I were to think it over the top, so I don't think it will work like we can have a dynamic logic here. So I think it will be a static logic where both of them will be binded to a common. handler which will update, like let's say I am pushing any updates to state, then an observer will sit here whenever a value of the state object will change. So it will take that value and push it and update the input value. And whenever input element value will be updated, so it will there will be an add element observer, add in event listener, where it will observe any input change, and it will correspondingly update the state object that we have.
Mhm.
So I think that will be a two-way data binding in my opinion.
That
So
kind of
if I were to tell you, like I am not sure like how it has been ages where we had to write native function. I might fumble a bit in syntax.
no worries.
I hope
I'm here to help you on that.
we will not. We will. I hope we will not get any hate for that.
No worries. Like there is always a chance like you can get a syntactical thing
Yeah.
resolved on the internet also, right? So it's not a big deal. So
Yeah.
anytime you
Yeah.
feel like you want some suggestion on the syntax, I'm happy to help.
Okay. So it will be like this. We can save it as a new value, and the state dot value will be update state, and same we whenever state dot value will be changed. So I think there is a way to define like there is a way to define getter and setter of any value. I'm not able to remember the syntax like how we used to do it on a predefined object.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a bit reluctant in the syntax, but yeah, definitely that is being doable. Like we can, not sure like what's the syntax. Either it was we used to do the object dot define property
Mm-hmm.
state and the key value, and then we can define the getter and setter here. If I'm not sure of the syntax, like we can define it here. Like there used to be a property, we can like do it on using that. So I keeping ignoring the syntax for now, like we can just do it like whenever whenever we receive the new value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we will update this dot value to new value also, and also we will push update to the input element also. Like we will just get the we will just we will update inputs value also.
Okay. So I think when you say this dot value, you meant something else.
Yeah, yeah, it will point to state only.
Okay.
This dot value will point to state in this case. Like I'm not able to remember the syntax properly. Like I may have to Google it down, but definitely we there is a way we can do using it. Like we can define observers getter and setter property for
It's
any
okay. You can use
value.
the leverage the internet. It's okay. You can Google the
Okay.
syntax. It's completely okay.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, it was this simple only. We can define getters and setter like for each key. Like if 1 second. Yeah. So basically, using these syntax, we can push the updates to either way. So that's why it's called two-way data binding. Like whenever changes happens to one source, we public it, we save those changes, and then we communicate to the another source, and hence vice versa. It happens either way. Like I can just follow the syntax
Yeah, definitely. Give a
to
shot.
update my code. Yeah. I will I will just comment it for now, but I'm sure there is a way of using define property also. Okay. I will have to see like how can we define dynamically set name.
Yeah. Or probably the approach that you are following earlier.
Yeah, we can also search for that. Let me just see. Like it will be a learning property. Yeah, right. I was right. It was there. New proxy. Yeah, I have heard about it proxy thing, but I haven't used it, so I will not touch it for now. I will just run this and see like if things are working fine or not. Resources, dynamic resources, straight team resources, will define property. Dynamic resource is whenever a key is there, we get internal key. Okay, we are getting it. We are setting a value. Okay, then I will just use the syntax for now.
Go ahead.
One second, I will uncomment it and I will just it was get and set only, right? They
Mhm.
were functions. Ideally, it should be there, otherwise it will point to itself only.
Okay.
Sorry for that. I will return state dot value only.
Mm-hmm.
When new value received, how is it updating itself? It is pointing to itself only. This dot value will be updated with new value, and input value will be, or either way we can dis- dispatch an event update value to trigger all the callbacks, all the handlers that we have for that particular input to see if we have to do any error validation or not.
Got it.
Yeah,
So,
I will just comment it and instead go with a different approach of what was the syntax. Yeah,
so if you are going with that approach, then someone has to listen on the input. Do we have any listener on the input?
no, no, we do not. But I am saying for future, I am saying in general application there will be a listener which will be listening to input change and doing all the error validation or any feedback that we have to provide.
Mhm. But at this point, we simply wanted to say that, hey, if there is a change in the model, automatically my UI layer should be updated, right? So I think the one which you did earlier could be the straightforward at this moment, right? As per
Yeah, this will be the straightforward, in my opinion, right?
got it. So do you see any syntactical error or any logical error in the code that you have written? Like maybe especially focusing on the model part that you have written.
1 second. Straight info, define properties.
So as per my understanding, what you try to do, because there
Hmm.
are two things that has to be done. One is your DOM element, and second is object. So if there is a change
Right,
in the DOM element, the object should be updated, and if there is change in the object, DOM element should be updated.
right,
For
right,
DOM element, you added a event listener to track any
right.
change that is happening. So do you see any issue with the way that you have added a listener?
I can, okay, input dot add event listener.
Okay. So now you're saying if there is any change in the input, then it should
Right,
update your object. And the other way, the above you have written, if there is a change in the object, so you added a
right,
system getter which will automatically update your one the value of that particular
hmm,
object, and second the input
right,
value in that particular DOM. That's what I can see.
right,
Let's,
right, right.
which is fair enough, I think. Uh,
Okay.
if you want to give a try, you can execute this code in the console and let's see if that works.
I don't think we have HTML there, so getting the DOM, will
Uh,
it work?
you can. So there is a way to
Okay.
execute that.
I have a code pen open there and I will
You can take the
choose it.
entire one. You can take entire one. Just take the entire code.
I can take the entire code. Okay, 1 second. I haven't seen the bottom code yet. Event change. Okay, now the change is being handled there, then it should work. What's the ID we are referring to? Create element, okay.
So it will create, like you don't have
Okay.
to do anything.
But it will not inject itself to the DOM, right? I can just get it by, I can change it, right?
You can do that. Like it won't be visible on the UI. That's the only difference. Like you could see everything in the console. That's what my point was.
Oh, okay, okay. Like, can we open console? Let me clear it down. Let me just move it to browser console then. So this is my new laptop, so I'm not very comfortable with Mac right now. I have just received it 2 days ago, so trying to figure out.
Sure, sure. No worries. That happens when you switch
Yeah,
between the OS, and especially
yeah,
with
right,
the sizes also that happens completely. Okay, let's see.
right, right.
Let's
I
see.
have property of null. Why is it? I think I have made one typo here. No, this looks good. Why is it giving me an error? Input.id will display is fine.
I think you have written get. You change the code from create element to get element.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Double check.
that's my. Let me just, yeah, let me just recopy it and run. Maximum cost tag exceeded.
Okay, something wrong then.
Oh, okay. I think I am setting it again. That's why it's being called again.
Hmm.
That may be the issue. Yeah, that that will be leading to infinite call itself. Infinite call to itself. Why is it not selecting call? I will just comment remove it for now.
Sure.
Most probably it should work. Okay.
What is wrong?
Okay. I think they are calling each other. That's why.
Is that the case or something else?
Let me check. I'm calling model. I'm defining property. I'm calling model. That's fine. Input dot value. Then we are updating state. Then we are input dot value. I what has been printed here? Like input dot value was earlier it was empty. Then we updated state and input dot lu. Okay, okay, got it. It will return this to itself. This can be the syntax error that I am missing here. What's the problem with this maximum cost check size exceeded? Sure, let me try and debug it. So till here the code is working fine. Afterwards, when I'm trying to access input dot value, I think it is breaking after here.
So
I
when you're trying
think
to
the
update
problem.
value again, what could be the
Mhm. I think I think we can add a if check if it is not, if the input is different, then only update it.
oh, do you want to do that? That's a hacky solution. You can do that, but really, what if? Although most of the time it's going to be string, but again, there can be other complications, right?
Uh, okay, if you do not want to do it, like uh, I can add a check here also. Like either way, I think it should be implemented at a source only,
Mm-hmm.
but not getting your point. Like what could be the problem here?
Uh, okay, just
Fetching
scroll
this.
up. Let's see. So you have a setter and you have
Yeah,
a getter method which is defined. Now,
right.
who is going to update your? Okay, so whenever you are going to set something in the state, there should be someone who is going to update your element, right? So do you want it to do
Okay.
this over here, or something else has to be done? So the problem statement is what you have. So for the first time, your state is changed, right?
Okay.
When your state is changed, your element has
Hmm.
to be set. So if you scroll up
Right.
a bit, the first thing, scroll up a bit, go up, not down.
Okay.
At the starting, at this moment, if you see you have an input and you have something called
Right.
state. Who's going
Hmm.
to? We are not going to map anything at this moment. You are going to call model for the first time. At
Okay.
this moment, someone should be responsible to bind this up. Like
Okay.
whatever you have inside your state, it should be available inside your element or an input.
Hmm.
Who's going to do that? Like
Got it.
first level binding, someone has to take care, right?
Okay. Got it. Then I can just set the input value here.
That will solve your one problem. The other problem that you have is
Yeah.
infinite loop, right?
Yeah.
So in infinite loop, what do you think? What could be the issue?
So I think it is calling itself like I am over the time. If I'm thinking like I am updating, input is being updated here.
Yeah,
Whenever I am dispatching an event, then it is updating the value of state again.
right.
Then if whenever a state gets updated, then it will update the value of input again.
Hmm.
But I don't think it will trigger a change here because that's not how things work.
Sure. I think for the safety purpose, the check that you are talking about, hey,
Mm-hmm.
if there is a no change in the value,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can go with that. Like that can also work for a short-term solution. It's okay.
I would love to see how this happens with edge cases later on after this call. New value is not equal to and only update it.
Let's give a shot.
I don't think it will solve the problem. Then I think we will have to update the value ourselves only because it is a setter. It should update the value.
And if you are setting it, the comparison that you
Hmm.
are doing below, does that make any sense?
Right. It is not making right, right point.
No worries. I think I get what you are trying to do. It's just that we are
Hmm.
almost there. Few things has to be taken care of.
Hmm.
Rest we are good. Yeah, I'm done with the sort of question that I have. So yep, feel free to ask anything that you have in mind. I hope you like the problems that we solved basically, and there is something that probably to learn.
Yeah, definitely. I would just want to know like what am I missing here? Is this problem? Then I will jump to the another question.
Sure. Few things basically that you can try out. One, you don't have to explicitly set that this dot value because value automatically will get set. So you can try that out. That is
Okay.
one. The second thing I will say,
Okay.
in such cases where you wanted to ensure you can manually return things inside the setter. Like whenever you're doing a setter, you can explicitly say that, hey, my job is done. Please return. Do not go ahead and do anything which is default behavior. So those kind of a thing basically can be tried out. So two things, just try it out. One, putting the return inside the set. That is one thing which I
Okay.
can see uh, inside the setter. Yeah,
Okay.
just return. You don't have to return the exact value because from the setter you do not expect anything to return, right?
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
I think mostly that should solve your problem that I see. You can give a shot from the code that you have written.
Let's try it out. I don't think it's solved.
Let's see. We can debug on that. You can go scroll up a bit.
Hmm.
Let me see. There is a create element that happened. There's a model
Let me
state
see.
input.
Let me
There's a,
zoom it. So,
yeah. So we have an input dot value. There is a stored state dot value. Uh, okay. If there is a the get that is actually written over here, which is this dot value that you get. Okay, and then we are doing a comparison on element dot value, which is fair enough. Okay, and then we are returning this. We have a event listener, which is a change. You have a e dot target dot value, state dot value, which you
Hmm.
are trying to update to the value that you are getting. So I don't see the
Right.
problem over here. Just scroll up. In
Hmm.
terms of setter, I wanted to check what are we returning. So we are returning this
Okay.
dot value, which the value is already updated. Uh,
Hmm. Right.
this should work. Like even if I see that you don't return this dot value, you return element dot value, both are going to be same at this moment. Like input dot value, both ideally should be same. Like I think
Okay.
there is some debugger that has to be added. Is it something to do with 72 line? That's what I'm suspecting. So can you change it to input dot value? So that's what I'm suspecting, which is actually creating this problem. Just change it to the input dot value, line number 72, and try to execute this code.
But why would it call?
Yeah, that is the problem. So what you're
Why would it?
so
Ideally, why would it go into infinite loop whenever I try to access this dot? Like it will call a getter itself.
so try to
That
access
can.
the value. Try to do a console.log and print this dot value.
I'm thinking it will call itself. That's why.
You are going to call
I,
the same. You're going to
same
call
getter, right?
you're going to call the get again. You're going to call get again, right? So your this dot
Right.
value is nothing. It's the same function which is going to be infinite loop, which is going to be in recursion kind of a implementation, right?
Right. Right. I'm suspecting the same thing.
And that was a problem basically.
Yeah. Right. 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 So right. So right. We both are on track then.
Awesome.
Fortunately.
Great.
Right.
So yeah, any question, feel free to ask.
No, no. I just loved this part. I had this new thing, like how, like I think I should more on debugging myself, more on debugging part, and even the concern edge cases that I usually miss in my code. Then I should work on it more.
Awesome, awesome, great, man. So, in terms of a quick feedback that I wanted to share with you, one thing
Yeah.
probably I will say that the way you have tackled the problem, starting from your understanding of how basically this works, basically, right? Understanding how basically the DOM element basically works. So, the understanding how the factory pattern and all sort of different ways that we are, that's a good thing. But if I see if there are certain improvement that could be done, is around what is expected, right? So most of the
Hmm.
time what happens, we know the concept. It's just that there are certain
Right.
constraints depending on the project, the current state of the functionality, where you have to add on certain
Hmm.
things. Like you can't go and revamp everything, right? You have to stick to where you are, because features has to be added on top of it. There is no chance of
Hmm.
revamps, right? That is something which
Right.
I feel generally people do mistake, where they tend to say that, hey, can I modify this for the sake of the interview,
Hmm.
but that doesn't work in the practical real life. So I
Yeah.
think
Definitely.
that's a attitude. I think that's a way of tackling the problem. I think if you work on that, else everything will improve. And eventually the second thing that you mentioned is the debugging, which I feel, yeah, bit improvement on that can be work. Rest, if I have to
Hmm.
see, you just cracked this, right? You did a great job in order to cover a lot of technical, I will say, cool in the tough part in the JavaScript, and you did it very smoothly. Much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm blessed in that way that I cracked it.
Great.
Then I can
So,
join Microsoft, right?
come on, I will be taking an interview. Let's meet in Microsoft.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it in future.
Great. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching this. I hope you liked it, and if you liked it, let us know what could be probably improved, or any other question that you wanted to ask to Himanshu in this case, right? So any question that was popping up to your mind, maybe any other better solution that was popping up, feel free to basically share that, and don't forget to share with your friends. This is going to help everyone. Thanks a lot again, once again, Himanshu, for coming in and basically sharing your wonderful knowledge. So I really appreciate that. See you.
Thank
Have
you
a
very much.
great day. Bye bye.